Welcome to this video program on Business and Entrepreneurship Education Grade 9. In our previous video, we have learned about business plan. Today's lesson will be on Unit 6, Demand and Supply, where you will learn about market and demand. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define a market, differentiate between a buyer and a seller, list examples of markets, define demand, and understand what is effective demand. What is a market? People have needs and wants. They satisfy their needs and wants by buying goods and services. Goods and services are sold in markets. A market is a place where buyers and sellers meet to exchange goods and services against a payment. Here is an example of a market where you will find the seller, the buyer, and commodities. Who is a buyer? A buyer is a person who purchases goods and services. On the other hand, who is a seller? A seller, who can be a supplier, is a person who offers goods and services, usually with the aim to make profit. Some examples of market are shopping malls, online shopping on eBay or Amazon, trade fairs, hospitals, post office, and many more. Review and sum up. You can now take some minutes to write the definition of a market. Differentiate between a buyer and a seller. List some examples of markets for goods. And list some examples of markets for services. Demand. What is demand? Demand is when a person expresses the willingness to buy commodities. If a person wants to buy a commodity, there will be a demand for this commodity. What is a commodity? Commodities are products, that is, goods and services. Some examples of demand are ice cream, pullovers, school materials, and so on. What is effective demand? Effective demand is when a person has the willingness and ability to buy a commodity at a given price over a given period of time. If a person is willing to buy a product but does not have the ability to pay, there will be no demand for the commodity. Examples of effective demand. On one hand, you will see there is effective demand as customer is able to pay her bill for goods purchased. Whereas, on the other hand, despite the customer is willing to buy tomatoes costing 30 rupees per kg, but she has only 25 rupees. Thus, she doesn't have the ability to pay. Hence, there will be no demand. Another example of effective demand is the picture on the left shows effective demand as the customer has the willingness and can afford to pay for the dress. Whereas the picture on the right shows no demand because the customer has the willingness but cannot afford to buy the dress. Review and sum up. You can define what is demand. Give some examples of demand. What is effective demand? And give some examples of effective demand. Here are some links that you can use as additional materials. Well, I hope that this video session has been useful to you. Keep watching for more videos. Until the next, goodbye.